Hey guys, and welcome to one more episode of Builder Nation. For today's agenda, we have Tim Morrissey, founder and CEO of Artimus Robotics, a venture-backed robotics company changing the way the world moves. Welcome, Timothy. Super happy to have you here today.
Thank you. Excited to be here. So I'm Tim Morrissey, co-founder and CEO of Artimus Robotics. I have a background in mechanical engineering and material science. Artimus Robotics is a spin-out of the University of Colorado Boulder. Some work I did during my PhD along with my co-founders. We've got 4 fantastic PhD co-founders. And Artimus is commercializing a new type of soft actuator technology we call Hazel artificial muscles.
Okay. Wow, that was a good pitch. That was a straight to the point pitch. And how did you and your co-founders come up with this idea?
So the co-founders we all met during our PhD program, and the idea for soft robotics has been around for a while. Like way back in the 50s, people were interested in artificial muscles or like devices that worked like humans did, right? So the whole concept behind soft robotics is really that we're constantly trying to make robots or systems, move more like you and I. That's when we're automating something, we're usually taking a task from a person and trying to get a machine to do it. And so the concept is, okay, why is a person so good at that? And can we take inspiration from people or from nature, if you would, to move forward? And so with that, how does nature work? We use soft, compliant muscles on top of a rigid skeleton structure. So when we say soft, we literally mean like physically soft, right? You can move it, you can deform it. And so that's where the inspiration from our technology and the soft robotics field as a whole comes from, that natural inspiration. It's the same thing as like artificial intelligence. No one actually ever thinks about what it is, AI, right? And we're trying to just replicate how people are thinking, and we're trying to do the same thing over in the physical space. And so our fundamental technology was really just timed really nicely. There's been plenty of academic attempts at making soft robotic actuators or soft actuators in the past. And we kind of took a couple that had been around, took inspiration from a few, merged them together and brought forward what we bring.
Nice. And was it really hard for you to get investors at the beginning? It's different, I bet, if you were the only co-founder, but since you're like 4.
So it's certainly always a challenge with early stage hardware, right? There's not a ton of investor landscape for that. We were really fortunate that we're in Boulder, Colorado, which has a really robust startup ecosystem. I would argue it's as robust as the Bay Area in a lot of ways, whether it be like the Techstars community here or the university community. So we had a lot of kind of help coming up through that ecosystem. And we had a kind of a nice gradual runway. As we finished our PhDs, we actually got some grant funding from both state and federal levels. And then also kind of leverage that into some seed stage investment as well. So we did raise right in the middle of COVID, actually like March 2020, April 2020. So that was character building for sure. But it all worked out. And since then, we are venture backed, but we continue to do a lot of government work, and we even do corporate work already. So we get a decent amount of our revenue just from corporate customers because we sell development products today. So we don't have anything on market in mass production, but we kind of borrow from the software community, right? Ship early, ship often, make mistakes. And we're putting our actuators, our technology in boxes and sending it to customers on pretty much a weekly basis. There's some weeks that we don't send something out, but pretty regularly we're putting things in other people's hands so they can get hands-on experience with our products. And that's been, it's not, we make a couple bucks and that's awesome, but we learn a lot. So they call us up and I broke it this way, or this doesn't work at all like I thought. And we kind of refine both our technology and our story and our place. So it's how we've tested our product market fit just through kind of selling this stuff as early as possible.
I love how excited you sound about this part of the process that I'm pretty sure it's not as easy. So you're super involved in the actual hardware process. It's not only you're the co-founder, you're actually there with the engineers.
Certainly, yeah. I'm in my office most days these days. Back in the day, I did more. My personal contributions were more on the electrical aspects of it, usually on the controls and efficiency aspects. So the other guys are making it now, and we're a team of 7. And so actually, luckily, none of the founders have to spend too much time making actuators anymore. We have help to do that, but we're still doing plenty of it.
Okay, and you sound excited. I love that.
Yeah.
And what would you say was the specific problem that you were trying to solve whenever you first like build the company?
For building the company, what problems were we trying to solve? So fundraising for sure, like just getting the resources to actually move the needle in any measurable direction. And then, I mean, the only job of a startup is to define your product market fit. And we have a platform technology, and we're a component provider. And so inherently, we're going to have a diverse customer base, selling the same widget to customer A, B, and C, all using it in kind of different ways, but selling them the same product. And so that's really been a challenge of balancing, a customer that likes what you have today versus a bigger customer or a bigger market that would love what you could build tomorrow. And just kind of operating around all of that's been interesting, challenging, but also very rewarding. So we've had about 30 customers throughout the lifetime of the company so far, all touching different aspects. So we're proud of that in our 3 years to have that many. But it's, at the same time, it certainly is a strain on resources, on people's time, specifically.
Wow, I had no idea that you were also like working with the government. This is really interesting. I've never heard of a robotics company working with the government.
Oh yeah, so the U.S. Navy was our first customer. They were trying to place an order like before we even legally formed the company. Way back in like 2018, we would actually rent time in an academic lab to build our things because we didn't even have the equipment yet. And so we have some really compelling use cases with the U.S. Navy, they've engaged with us the whole way through. They're like still very, very engaged, talking to them on a regular basis. And then we also work with the U.S. Army. We work with NASA, and we work with ARPA-E, which is a DOE entity as well. And so, yeah, we have a lot of interest from the defense and kind of government space, which has been great for us because it's brought in quite a bit of resources.
Oh, that's great. And I mean, for someone not familiar with the engineering, just like me, what would you say an actuator is? Like, can you explain how it is?
Yeah, an actuator is just a device that makes things move. Traditionally, it takes electrical energy and converts it into mechanical energy. So it takes an electrical signal and makes something like physically move. On you, your actuators are your muscles, your biceps, your hamstrings, things like that. So we're just helping different industries move in ways they couldn't before. And so there's traditional actuators out there that might run on like air, like a compressed cylinder that like pushes air, or there's electric versions. And then there's all sorts of different experimental ones like piezos or shape memory alloys or thermally activated ones. And we're just a brand new genre of that, our Hazel actuators. So just helping people move.
And what about the Hazel technology? Like, do you feel like it was really new whenever you started, or was it something that people were actually used to, like most of the engineers?
Definitely new. It's pretty new. And that's actually one of our biggest hurdles with most of our customers is getting them to just understand how you could implement this technology. We're replacing like a rigid metal component with our liquids and plastic, flexible, use high voltage. It's just really different for a lot of our customers. A great example, like our automotive customer, they're just not used to using, a brand new set of physics when you're thinking about how you can get something to move. So we focus a lot on customer education. It's actually, if you go to our website, artemisrobotics.com, and go to our blog, you'll see we have a ton of like engineering notes and things like that are just trying to explain and get people comfortable with this new way to make things move.
Okay. So you are like all over the different industries. What would you say it's the most rewarding one that you have ever worked with?
Yeah, they're all pretty rewarding, even the more minor ones. I would say more recently. So one of the interesting aspects of our technology is that it's soft and compliant and flexible, right? And that actually turns out to be a really nice benefit in the area of what we call human-machine interfaces, or anytime a person is interacting with an actuator. And so, because like we're soft and compliant, we like to like have flexible things touch us. And so we're spending a lot of time in like massage space or compression space. And with the compression, that gets us into the medical applications a lot of times. So like compressing your leg to influence how blood flows through it or something like that. I can't speak too much to a lot of the specifics, but that's pretty rewarding because at worst, it's just entertaining for people, but at best, there's actually medical benefits. And so we really enjoy doing that. But like also our applications in industrial automation, for instance, there will often take a pneumatic system, so an air-based system, which is really energy intensive and bad for the environment, and make it much more electrically efficient. So it's a greener, more sustainable technology. And I mean, that's an interesting part where it's kind of more disconnected, right? I don't directly see the individual that's going to benefit from that, but we certainly know that if you help make a supply chain more sustainable, it's going to have a really big impact. So I'm really fortunate that some days I want to see my benefit like one-to-one. I want to see a person benefiting. And other days I want to see my benefit on like a more global scale. And because of our diverse customer base, I get to kind of look at both those. So that's pretty rewarding.
Yeah, because I mean, you're not closing your options, you're like, it's really like large scale. So that's great.
Yeah.
And now that you're mentioning like supply chain, have you had like any biggest technical challenge or challenge in general whenever it came to the pandemic?
Yes, we have challenges every day here. If you need some challenges, head on over to Artimus Robotics. We're serving them up every day. Supply chains have impacted us, specifically on our electronics component. So our actuators are unique in their use of high voltage, low power portable electronics. It's just a very niche electronic industry. And with that, for instance, we'll have lead times of 6 months, 9 months, things like that, placing a third order before we even receive the first order. So I think most folks in your audience are probably familiar with the electronic supply chain crunch right now. And so that's definitely impacted us. And then also the other one I would say that's impacted us in terms of the COVID pandemic is we've had pretty few customer visits so far. And I think compared to what we would have had, and for us, we make a technology that a lot of times we're encouraging people to touch and feel and integrate. And I think a lot of times in the past, we would have sent engineers to our customer site and helped them put them in, and even maybe stay there for a week or two and kind of work together. Wow. And because we're hardware, that just, physical contact's usually just part of the game, and it's not anymore. And so it's a lot of ship that to them, they ship it back to you, you have an interview or a call. And so that's probably another way it's impacted us, which is unfortunate. We see that opening up a little bit more. The customer visits, both to and from, are starting to uptick. But as a physical hardware device, I think that we would have done more of that in a different world.
I was hearing the other day that robotics conferences and events are like coming back to life in the US. So is that a thing that you're planning on appearing, or is there a way that Artimus Robotics can get in?
Yeah, we are. We have been going to trade shows more now in 2022. We went to CES, but that was right in January when the pandemic was very confusing for everyone. So we still ended up going. We stayed safe, but it was a very low attendance for a CES show. We were just over in Germany at Hannover Messe, which is a very large industrial automation conference, and that went phenomenally. So that one felt like the old world, that everyone was there. And that went great. And we'll be at a few medical trade shows later this year as well. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but we're definitely back into the trade shows, and that's been really nice.
And that's going to be exciting because you will have the option to connect with other companies that are in the same IP, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's so critical for us because we're a component provider. And so we've got to connect with these companies, educate them on what we offer, and come and find value for their customer together. And so, yeah, it's a lot of customer relationship building for us.
And last but not least, do you have any advice for future engineers or people starting on this robotics path?
I always just say, take action as early as possible. So like just sell early, sell often, communicate with everyone. Some really good advice I got from a founder that exited to a large public company was just take every meeting until you just can't anymore. And it's really tempting to say, oh, I already know everything I need to do. Just want to go heads down. As a technical person, I get it. I wanted to do that too. And he said, just every meeting, no matter who it is, talk to them. Right. And I've done that. I have stepped off of that a little bit only recently, but definitely for a solid 2 years, I just said yes to every single person that wants to talk to me, no matter what. And it's really important because you don't know. You have some assumptions, some guesses of what your value is in the marketplace, but you have no idea. And so you've just got to hit into as many other people's thoughts and ideas, get that feedback, and that will help shape things. So that would be my other advice.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yes, at the end of the day, you don't know if that the other company or the other CEO or the other engineer might end up buying your product or might end up like giving a recommendation or something like that. So
give you information, like
yeah.
you sell something that's fun, but early it's a lot about just understanding and getting information out of that relationship.
Wow, really interesting. I mean, thank you so much, Timothy. Thank you so much for taking the interview. This was really interesting. Do you have any social media handles where people can follow you? Artimus Robotics, I don't know, LinkedIn?
Yep, Artimus Robotics is on all the classic social medias, especially LinkedIn. Artimus is spelled Artimus. Robotics is traditional spelling. And yeah, so you can find us there and connect with me personally too if people are interested with it.
Amazing, thank you. And remember, guys, that you can also find more information, interesting articles, interesting interviews, just like this one with Tim, directly on our website, controlhub.com/builder-nation. We would love to hear from you. And once again, thank you so much, Tim. This was great. I loved knowing more about Artimus Robotics and especially what Artimus means.
Thanks so much. It was great. Really appreciate you having me on.